Hello students, today we are going to discuss about mode of inheritance. It describes the different ways in which genes headed down from parents to their offsprings through several generations may express themselves. First, the genetic disorders are classified into chromosomal disorders, abnormality in the number or structure of chromosomes. The second classification is a single gene disorder. It is otherwise called as Mendelian disorder due to a single mutant gene, and it gives four basic patterns of inheritance. Third, the multifactorial inheritance. It means that many factors are involved in causing a birth defect. The disorder is a result of interaction of genes with the environmental factors. How to analyze the genetic disorders? While dealing with the genetic cases, first we record the family history of index case. Second, the index case or proband. It is an affected person who has brought the attention of the family to the clinician. Then the family history. Does any relative have similar complaints, or does any relative shows any other disease which is not present in proband, or any condition with which any of the relative has suffered or suffering with might have been unnoticed? Then the proband is an outcome of consensuous marriage. Then find what is the ethnic group of a family. Then record the addresses of relevant family members of this very important in order to contact them. Then going with some terminologies of mode of inheritance. First, the allele or the allelomorph, one or more alternative forms of a gene found at the same locus on homologous chromosomes in an individual or a population. Then the homologous gene, identical alleles occupying the same locus on homologous chromosomes. Then the homozygous, an individual who possesses two identical alleles at one particular locus on homologous chromosomes. Then the heterozygous, an individual who possesses two different alleles at one particular locus on homologous chromosomes. Then the dominant gene, an allele that is always expressed both in homologous and the heterozygous condition. In recessive, an allele that is expressed only when it is homozygous. Then the genotype, the total genetic genome of an individual, or more specifically, the alleles present at one locus for a particular trait. More specifically, the combination of alleles an organism inherit from its parents. The phenotype means the appearance, that means the physical, biochemical, and physiological of an individual produced by the expressions of genotype under the influence of environment. Next, the pedigree. It shows the phenotype or the genotype for a particular organism and its ancestors. While it's commonly used for human beings, the family to track the genetic diseases. It's shortened method of giving relevant information and also the mode of transmission of the disorder in the family. Next, the Punnett square. The Punnett square is a diagram that is used to predict an outcome of a particular cross or breeding experiment. The Reinald C. Punnett, who was a British geneticist who found the Punnett square. It helped to determine the probability of an offspring having a particular genotype. Next, we are discussing about the Mendelian inheritance. It is caused by a single mutant gene. When we are following the four patterns of inheritance, they are the autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, sex or X-linked dominance, or X-linked recessive inheritance. Next, we are discussing about sex-linked inheritance. The sex-linked inheritance means X-linked or Y-linked inheritance. Genes on Y chromosomes shows hallandric inheritance. Y chromosomes has HY gene which shows a single gene mutant and trait is the hairy pinna. So, sex linked inheritance means X linked. It can be either a recessive or dominant. In X linked recessive inheritance, male are said to be hemizygous in respect to X linked gene. The trait is determined by the gene carried on X chromosome. It manifests females only when it is double. Therefore, the females are rarely affected. So, a heterozygous female forms a carrier. In males, even single mutant gene on their X chromosome, the heterozygous state, are affected. Examples of X-linked recessive traits are Duchenne muscular dystrophy, hemophilia, and color blindness. First, we can discuss about Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It is an X-linked recessive trait characterized by the progressive muscular weakness. The incidents are reported 1 in 3,500 males. Some clinical features of this condition: it presents between 3 to 5 years, and the muscular weakness characterized by awkward gait, difficulty in climbing, and inability to run. While standing from sitting position, the child climbs on itself, so it is called as Grover's sign. Lumbar lordosis is reported in advanced cases. The patient shows inability to walk by age of 11 years. These kind of patients are died around the age of 20 by the respiratory infection or the cardiac failure. Next, we are discussing about the hemophilia A. It is due to the deficiency of factor 8 in blood. The incidence reported 1 in 5,000 to 10,000. Some clinical features of the hemophilia A: increased or prolonged bleeding and hemorrhage in joints and muscles. Then the intracranial bleedings. Next, the color blindness. Inability to perceive the color green or the deuteropenia and the red or protopenia. Around 1 to 8 percentage incidence reported. Some cytogenetics of the color blindness. The distal portion of the long arm of the chromosome X. The genes for red and green opsin proteins are located adjacent to each other. It caused by the deletion of genes or unequal crossing over in meiosis. Finally, X-linked dominant inheritance. The X-linked dominant traits occurs more frequently in females, twice common in female than males. The affected male transmit the trait to all his daughters and none of his son. Some examples are the vitamin D resistant rickets, hypophosphatemia, Alport syndrome. At last of this session, we knew that any mutation occurs on our gene that transmit to our offsprings. Thank you.